And welcome back to another Between the Pages book chat. And today our guest is author Joshua Pantalleresco. And we're going to be discussing his book, Alice One. And now I'm going to turn it over to him and let him introduce himself. So take it away.
So let's see. I'll try to be a little less funny than I was on Joe's. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joshua Pantalleresco. I write stuff and podcasts too. I'm most well known for my podcast, Just Joshing, but I do write fiction as well. And this is the sequel to my Elgin Award nominated book, Alice Zero. It involves, if you like Greek mythology and Alice in Wonderland stuff, it mashed together. This will be for you.
Okay. And please don't do that again. The seriousness is just throwing me off. Okay. So tell us about your book. What is Alice One about?
So Alice Zero kind of started off. I'll start there and I'll go into Alice One. Alice Zero, Alice opens Pandora's box and the kingdom of Wonderland scatters across the multiverse. And she wakes up in an insane asylum where the playing cards are her jailers. Well, not spoiling too much stuff, she somehow miraculously escapes. Now, when she opened the box, a certain Cheshire friend literally exists now inside her head. So, based on how the book ends up, she's chasing the Queen of Hearts in the multiverse. She's going after the Queen for what the Queen did to her. And she ends up going into the Greek underworld, a labyrinth. And there she has to play croquet with Jason of the Argonauts because that seems like such a Wonderland and yet Greek thing as well. And one of the really fun things about this project has been I've been looking up a lot of Greek mythology and Greek stories to tie into Wonderland, right? And Jason is an interesting foil for Alice because I think in most like stories today, Jason would be a great villain. He's almost like the Homelander.
Yeah, I always thought Jason was a villain, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah. No, he definitely he wins. That's why he's the hero. And I actually talk about that in the story. He wins and he'll do whatever it takes to win. And this very special labyrinth game of croquet is involves certain other gods and monsters as well. And I tried to tie it in very much with Jason's mythology as much as I could because I thought it'd be a cool foil for Alice to deal with.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Alice. What's she like?
She's trying to figure that out. She opened the box and it changed everything. And now, so basically, she's on a quest to find these pieces of Wonderland. And every time she does, she gets a memory, something back, right? That she hadn't remembered before. And I'm telling a story basically at this point, not spoiling too much, as she gets a piece of it, she gets a little details of her father right before he meets the Queen of Hearts, who seems to have set her on this journey that she's on. So she's trying to figure it out. But the other part is she might be slightly insane. She has the Cheshire cat in her head. And most of the book, she's actually talking to the cat, which is I had way too much fun with that dynamic. Way too much fun with that dynamic. It was great.
So she's a bit of an unreliable narrator, then, is she?
Not she's honest in her own way, but is she aware what's fully going on? No, she's not. So I would say she's unreliable in the sense that she doesn't know what's going on and she can be fooled. But she's honest. Like she's not one of those like unreliable narrators that's deliberately misleading you. She's trying to figure it out just as much as the reader is.
Okay, so what were your inspirations for writing the two books?
I was requested to initially. Colleen Anderson was an editor for an anthology, and I did a series for Mirrorwell Publishing called The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and the Wandering God, and it was like this epic Gilgamesh style poetry. Colleen really liked it and wanted me to do something with Lewis Carroll. So I said yes, and then the first thought is like, oh God, what am I going to say about Lewis Carroll that hasn't been said before? So that night, I go to a bar, and I meet a girl with a Gorgon tattoo on her arm. And yes, Medusa's in the story. She's actually in both books, pre-Gorgon, and there's a reason for that. But that's down the road. But I remember she was cute. I went to hit on her. She played for the other team. We're still good friends to this day, though. She's really cool. It's like she made such a really good impression on me. I asked her if I could put her in the book as like a shadow, like basically Medusa, like a Gorgon knight. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it clicked. Oh my God, Alice is Pandora. And then I had this like story I could tell to the anthology, and it got rejected. It made it to like one of the last passes, and then she goes, "This is too good. You've got to do something with this." So I did. I said, "Well, instead of going to a publisher for it, it's like I think I published it myself." And then the pandemic happened. It's like, you might as well just throw books out there and see what happens, because that's what goes. So I did Al Zero last year. I hired a great artist named Mackenzie Carr to do some of the illustrations on the inside and the covers. Kenzie's amazing. Like, she really, really is. And yeah, so the first book then got nominated this year for an Elgin Award, which is like, that's cool. One of those cool little happenstances. And yeah, it seems to be slowly being more and more read, which is kind of cool.
It is cool. So, what kind of themes did you throw into the books?
So if you're a Carl Jung fan, you'll love it. I talk about shadows a lot. Shadows and ego are definitely a big part of the story, because this is about Alice figuring out who she is as much as her navigating the multiverse to find her way home. And so I wanted to explore the concept of gods and monsters and shadows, because this is Greek. It's a Greek tragedy. But I also kind of wanted to deal with, this was even before the pandemic, the idea of sickness, health, overcoming, being brave in the face of just an undaunting obstacle. And I'm a big fan of the Wasteland as a poem kind of deal, like that kind of stuff. So it's just like, it was one of those things where it's like, this might be my Wasteland / Robert Browning's Child, roll into the dark tower, come kind of deals. And it's like, I like that stuff. I might be like in the minority of one, but I don't care. And I thoroughly was surprised with how much I enjoyed writing Alice. I can see the appeal of her now. I didn't really get it until I did this. And yeah, the appeal is really cool.
Yeah, so you mentioned that Alice is recovering memory. So are you exploring the idea of identity and what it actually is?
Yes, although not so much in Alice 1. I'll tell you what the next book is called. Alice 2, T00. And that tackles that question very much head on. There's a reason, let's just put it to you this way. There's a reason there's a certain Cheshire friend inside her head, and it's going to force her to deal with some very uncomfortable. When we all deal with we're not angels, we're not animals. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. And what I think our biggest thing is, what masters do we choose to serve? What do we choose to feed, and why? And every time you feed one, you make almost the other voice less silent, less visible. So confronting your shadow, or confronting your dark side, or confronting is always traumatic, because you can't run and hide from it, because that is who you are. It's maybe a distorted mirror. And if that doesn't sound like a little bit through the looking glass, you are absolutely correct. It will be a lot through the looking glass. But the idea is, you can't run from yourself. No matter where you go or how far you go, you're you. That's all there is to it.
Okay, so what was the hardest scene or type of scene you wrote in the book?
The first one was actually easy. This one, there's a couple. So the idea of the flamingos for the clubs. Okay, so I decided to use, because I'm in the Greek underworld, Stygian birds, and they're almost like these mechanical. So I told like a nice little sub story with how both of them chose their clubs. I thought I would illustrate the difference between Jason and Alice, and how their approach is. And again, if you know Jason's story, you know kind of how he did it. Alice, so I think one of the hardest things I had to do with this was, in this particular story, was there is a moment late in the story where their choices kind of come back to bite them. And that was hard to justify the balance. The other one that was kind of hard was, so again, if you don't read Jason's story mythology, he has to deal with a dragon that doesn't sleep at the heart of a maze with the golden fleas. And I thought that would be a cool final obstacle. But I had to Wonderland this up. So if you look at the dragon's shadow, because he hasn't slept for so long, he's almost like he's hallucinating. So he would like change personalities in the middle sometimes of a conversation. He was the closest thing to delirium I've ever written. It was fun, but also very challenging. Keeping that dangerous yet credible. Is hard balance.
Okay, so and conversely, what was your favorite scene that you wrote?
Ooh. I always love writing Medusa. She's kind of like in my story. In my story, she's literally the Gorgon Knight, but she's pre-Gorgon, right? She just has a much like my friend a tattoo. So she's like this badass that comes in and she's almost my Medusa Machina for the first few books. There's again, all of this is built to going to come to a point in a crescendo to it. But I always enjoy writing her because she's almost like if there is a pure point of shadow, that like Medusa is a pure point of light. You read her in mythology, she's very much a victim, not really, relatively innocent compared to what she becomes. And I thought she's fun to write. And Alice and the cat, always going back and forth, is hilarious because the cat is such a dick and very fun to write.
Okay, and speaking of the cat, tell us a little bit about some of the secondary characters, their little quirks and foibles.
Okay, so I'll spoil this point right now. So every Ad Wonderland character they're usually matched up with some Greek equivalent, either directly or indirectly. The Mad Hatter, for example, is Kronos. And it makes sense because Kronos, what does he do? He kills time. What does the Mad Hatter do? He kills time. It's a natural connection. So the Cheshire Cat, if it was going to be any Greek myth, it would have to be discord. Because if you sit there and think about the cat, sits there and does nothing, and chaos unfurls all around him all the time. So I thought discord is perfect. And Pandora, as Alice, is madness. So you got chaos and discord in the same person, which is always interesting. There's Jason. Alice's Flamingo Club is named Icarus. There's definitely reasons for that. I had Heracles in the story, albeit very briefly, and I enjoyed the dragon. The dragon was super fun to write because he wasn't all there, and it's Wonderland, so you can have some fun with that.
Okay, so what are your characters afraid of?
I will not answer the question about the cat. I'm not going to answer that. That's actually a big part of Alice too. I'm not going to answer that question. Alice is afraid she'll never get out. And that, again, that's going to get that's addressed a little bit more in the second book than in the first book, but only because I established a very clear pattern between Alice and the Cheshire Cat in the first book, and that gets explored. But Alice's big fear is that she'll never go home again, which I think fits her very well. Jason's fear is that he'll lose, and he will no longer be chosen of the gods, and it drives everything he does. The dragon's afraid he'll never sleep again. The Icarus is afraid he'll never fly again, and they all have their wants and their needs. And the other Stygian bird is afraid of Jason because of what Jason does to him.
Okay, so which character would you like to hang out with in real life?
All of them are Medusa. Honestly, Medusa in my story, because Alice has issues. No, Alice has issues. The cat's a dick, right? I would root for Alice. I think the cat would be a bit of a dick. I like Icarus. Icarus is fun. He's very, very fun. Jason, I'd want to beat on if he didn't kill me. And the Queen. The Queen's just a bitch. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I make the Queen a heartsome monster, and it ties perfectly who I tie her to. But again, no comments on who that is.
Okay, so I know you don't tie yourself down with genre too much, but is there any genre that you haven't tried that you want to?
I think I could do a decent mystery. I like the appeal of it because it's almost like playing game theory, right? There's two ways to go about a mystery. You can make the clues there, and people can figure it out quickly if that's the case. But can you twist it in an interesting way to tell it? Or can you truly make an interesting game and keep people guessing? It's almost impossible if you know how a story is told to fool the reader completely. What you can do, however, is you can make the ride super fun. I talk about this, and I've said this in podcasts. One of my favorite uh, lines in a movie in The Matrix. I know it's not mystery, but it's one of my favorite lines. Is when the Oracle examines Neo and goes, "You have the gift, but it looks like you're waiting for something." And he goes, "What? The next life, maybe? Who knows?" That was brilliant. It created the expectation of him dying and coming back right there without you even realizing it. And when it happens, it's like, you're brilliant and damn you. Consequently, The Dark Knight Rises is got the worst version of that. You knew what the ending was. They gave too much information in too straightforward a way that the only real question I had watching that movie after that information was revealed was which girl Bruce Wayne would end up with. I did like the rest of the movie was not a surprise really at all. And that's and that's the thing about mysteries. Mysteries have to have a sense of wonder and surprise to them to be really, really, really good. Dark surprises, light surprises, doesn't matter. Just there has to be an element of like either subverting or fulfilling expectations in a way that's clever. I think that'd be a fun challenge.
Yeah, I've tried a few mysteries in my early career before I got published, and yes, it's very challenging.
Yes, it is. Because again, if it's too obvious, it's not good. And it can't come from left field. Or you're playing with the audience's expectations a lot. So to do it well, you need to figure out how it works. And then you got to figure out, okay, how can I either hide it or how can I hide it? How can I disguise it in a way that the reader will go along with me and trust me, even if I am fooling them a little bit, right? So because again, it's the journey, not the destination that really matters so much. But I think that's true with any story, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we'll wrap it up here then, and
Sure.
I'll let you tell everybody where they can find you and your books.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, first off, I'm going to talk about my show. It's Just Joshing. I interview authors and many other creatives on the show. Anita herself has been a guest on my show. We talked about all kinds of strange and wonderful things. Also, A.F. Stewart. She's awesome. Definitely check her stuff out. And you can find me at basically from an audio standpoint, you can find me pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you want to watch the show live, you can do so on twitch.tv/justjoshingpodcast. Now my latest book, Alice Won. So this is Alice chasing the queen down into the Greek underworld and where she has to defeat Jason in a game of croquet to get out of the maze. So this is as Wonderland and Greek myth as possible. I was really happy with this. It comes out December 1st. It's only available on Amazon right now. I want to do some things with the physical book in the spring, and then from there maybe I'll figure out how I'll go wide and stuff like that. But for now, it'll be available on Amazon. It's up for pre-order as you speak. I'll make sure that the link on this is given to Anita so you can pre-order it.
Oh, it's already in the description. So.
Oh, sweet. So just click that link, hit the pre-order button, and definitely check it out. I promise you, if you love Alice in Wonderland, you love Greek mythology, you will enjoy this journey.
And I'd like to thank you for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you as always.
Always.
And as I said, the link to his book is in the description, as well as the link to his Twitch channel. So be sure to check out his podcast because he always has great guests and great conversations. And well, that's it for today's show. And we will be back next week with another author. So that's it for now. Bye.